Path of Exile 2 is out for 2 weeks now. Everyone is going wild in their reviews about other reviews. Everyone's talking about it. And I'm throwing my opinion in the ring as well, for no apparent reason. Honestly, the reason why I'm doing this is because I think GGG is listening to constructive criticism, and I don't feel like there's enough constructive criticism. People go on and ramble and have lists of things that they don't like. Few people actually come up with ideas how to improve. I will try to do that as good as I can. I'm not an ARPG veteran. It's not the main genre which I'm playing. Path of Exile 2 really seemed transparent from the beginning on what they will provide in this early access, which I think should be in like bold font and like fat print right for everyone, so nobody actually misses that, because people seem to forget. Not all of them, but some people seem to forget this is 0.1. This is in baby shoes. This thing has been born just now, basically. Yes, it has been in production for some time, but this is not it. This is not what the end result is going to look like. Half of the classes are still missing. Skills are missing, talents are missing, and all of this will need a whole lot of fine tuning until this game actually comes out as a full release. And so this is like my first argument to say, chill. This is supposed to be not perfectly functional. If it was, they would have released it right away. So this is my very first thing. It's early access, and for an early access game, it is a whole lot of fun to play. There's some bugs, there's some graphic issues. People who have been playing recently might know in Act 3, in the base campment, it's a horror to be in. Like, I basically went to other campments because it's just insufferable with the flimmering and the graphic bugs. Is really not pleasant. Those are things which need fixing, which will be fixed. It just needs some time. But there are some meta things, and I will try to also, answer some criticism that has been around. I also have to say I played one class. I did not basically just sit here the whole day for the past 14 days and play the game non-stop. So I played one class, which is the Ranger, which is the Deadeye, and that was fun to some degree. And I will explain in a second why. This is purely subjective, so feel free to actually criticize or basically give me feedback. I've not been digging into any sorts of guides, or it was purely, I never played Path of Exile 1. It was just a first-hand experience of basically freshman experience. When I played the Ranger, I felt like it was really easy at most times, and some bosses felt genuinely difficult in a good way. That means there were mechanics, there were nuances which you had to master to a certain degree to be able to defeat the boss. And this is how I think bosses should be designed. You have to get good. This is okay. It's not, oh, this boss is too difficult. Too difficult it would be where you could argue in Act 2, the final boss, it's just, he's a little bit too meaty for me. He has too much HP. It took unnecessarily long. And it would punish mistakes in an unproportional amount. If you consider, or when you consider, that, in my opinion, the other final act bosses were significantly easier. That might influence the whole perception a little bit. So if this was, so to say, the final boss, I wouldn't say a word. I wouldn't say a thing. This is in the middle. So some people, maybe I did that particular thing. Some people, they have not fully decided what kind of what kind of direction they want to go with their build. I guess at that point you kind of already do something. I went with a lightning build. I didn't know anything about it. As I said, I didn't read any guides. I went with lightning because I think lightning is pretty cool. I really like the idea. And so that's what I went with. Apparently, it is pretty strong as well. So my perception could also be a little bit, well, I had one of the easier classes to play. That would be an argument which I would accept because I understand that not all classes at this point are actually balanced. To which I will respond in a second. Well, so some situations really didn't feel comfortable, in particular the Act 2 boss, on which I actually spent a whole evening until I also managed, because I think the idea still with this boss is the same. You have to get good. You have to get good enough at the game to actually defeat the bosses, which is not for everyone. Not everyone is either willing to or capable of affording that much time to get that good at that game. But that has never been, I would assume, the agenda of the developers. Diablo 4, on the other hand, you can play blindfolded, deaf, and without hands. That's what you can do. I don't think you can do the same with Path of Exile 2. Also, you can brute force things in Path of Exile 2. Like, for example, you can't, with every class, you can't just run into huge mobs and just assume that you're going to survive this. Like, that's not how it goes, because it is not Diablo. People have to stop thinking it's Diablo. Even me, who's never played Path of Exile 1, but has played Diablo, you do that once, okay. Maybe you're going to try it out a second time. By the third time, you should realize this is not how that game works, unless maybe you have a class, talent, skill, whatever, which actually enables you to survive and kill that at the same time, or the build, because you have stats. For example, get HP per enemy killed, get mana per enemy killed, stuff like this. That is something that you have to be keeping in mind at all time. You have to actually understand the game developer's intention, because every game developer has intentions, and you can't just ignore that and expect the game to just play the way you want to play it just because. You could argue that some things are just objectively bad, some things are just objectively good when it comes to such decisions. As, for example, you don't want to make a boss harder just for the sake of making him harder. Like, that's not how it goes. Everything should contribute to gameplay and the gameplay experience. What do I mean by this? For example, over buffing some creeps, some regular mobs. Why would you do that? I'm not saying they did that, but why would you do that? It would make it very hard, that's for sure. But then are you giving counterplay? Are you giving the player a solution to go through with it? If you don't, then it's really not that pleasant. Which reminds me of one thing which they should just make a little bit more transparent, which is the trial in Act, I think it was in Act 3. The trial in Act 3, I like the idea with the debuffs which you can choose from. I believe it was the Trial of Chaos. That's what it's called. I believe you should make it very clear. Like they say trials $4. Just give a little sentence, because then you have the rewards and it says 1 of 10. So I was confused. Okay, will I actually have to pick like 10 debuffs and like do 10 instances? Can I try 4 times the whole thing and then it's gone? And I think that should be a little bit more transparent, like add in a few voice lines or something, or just some text. Like make such things clear. Especially, you have a lot of noobs for PoE2. The publicity has been very, very good. beforehand in promoting this. This was, I think, on everyone's radar who is considering themselves a gamer. Some people bought it blindly, some waited a little bit, some just refused to play it because it's early access. All of these are really reasonable. Um, and so this is one of the next things. They slowly but steadily should add more explanations because they have a whole new size of audience. I think the audience for PoE is bigger than ever. And if they want to keep these people and want to keep them playing, they should explain a few things more, which they already have started. They already did that. They wrote it in the patch notes. Okay, here and there, we added another tutorial. Right, if you know the thing, you press Alt, you hover over certain phrasings, certain um, attributes, titles, whatever. You get explanations, and they're doing more of that, and that's amazing. That is really really great. Um, so I want to continue a little bit because I have a few things more to say. Um, Next thing is the gameplay. I felt like I understand why there are limitations to how many skills you can have at one point because I think you could get OP really quickly if you can just use all of the skills which you would want. And while the system with the classes and the stats, that basically you're only bound by your stats, and other than that, you can do whatever you want to, mostly. I understand that, but for me, it was even the opposite at times. I was basically using Voltaic Mark, Lightning Arrow, and Lightning Rods. Other than that, all the other lightning skills didn't feel much like fun or even necessary. I could have changed it up, but why change something if it works? I defeated everything. You put Envenom on there, so you get the poison as well, which is really good. It's really good against bosses. I always put it before I go to a boss, and it worked perfectly fine against every single boss I've seen, and I've been through all three acts. Um, so what's the point really? Um, so I would kind of wish like make it a little bit more make other skills more relevant is I guess what I would say, right? Like you have supportive skills like the barrage, you have the arrow rain, you have the snipe, which I tried to implement because those three are also pretty cool. But then you still have some slots, and I really don't need them. Um, so that's kind of a shame. It's really kind of a shame. Um, I hope in the future there's gonna be some addressing towards that. Maybe with new skills, with new support gems that are going to come out. Um, Maybe it's gonna change a little bit. Maybe not. Maybe that's just the way it's gonna be. I'm pretty sure they gonna adjust all the classes, all the skills in some way or another. Um, I just really like if GGG GGG wants me to play a game all the way through and also wants me to play through an end game, through a possible end game, um, then there needs to be more variety. And I think this is a good bridge to go to the next topic. I would love to play with different elements, but I'm pretty deep into basically the whole lightning route. I have lightning there, I have lightning there, and all of that. And I can't just reset. There are plenty of people who are going like, well, but you can just reset and it's not that expensive. And GGG also addressed that already in the latest patch notes, saying for the higher levels, it is going to be cheaper, roughly 50%, which is a lot. And that's the right direction. I would want it, to be honest, even cheaper. And wait before you come out with your uh, torches and start to hunt me because I think I have some reasoning to it. Um, Personally, I would like to try different things for example, also against different bosses. And I really like building my sets, my equipments, like everything. I like building everything and, switch things around, try things around however I would like it. This is why I really, really, really appreciate the skill gem and support gem system. It allows me to do whatever I want to with a simple, basically going back to the encampment, going to my stash. I have like a whole tab full of gems, right? And I can try whatever I want to. But I can't switch it around as I want to on the same character as much as I want to. I actually never did it because I don't have the money for it. Now, you can say, why don't you have the money? You get plenty of money. You can pick up stuff, you can sell it, right? Like you can do this, you can do that. That's quite all right. I can do that. But I also can spend my money as a crippling gambling addict, which I am, on trying to actually get really nice and good gear, which to some degree I will have to say, in my opinion, you have to do. You have to have up to date gear, or you really have like a harder game experience. I tried it to some degree with having like not up to date equipment, and by my experience, it worked. Just as I said, to some degree, like, but it was hard, right? It was even harder, I would say, than when I said, okay, I'm gonna switch it up now. I'm gonna get all the gear to my level, to my actual level, and that's it. That's about it. Um, so I kinda would like to, like, I want to go back to this customization point. I would like to get back to that. Um, like, let me reskill. Let me try strength and dexterity with main dexterity, and then later, uh, dexterity and intelligence. Like, let me see how much mana do I actually want to have? How much HP do I actually want to have? How do I split? How do I juggle? Um, oh, poison seems to be really good. Maybe do I want to have, those few talents which are really good for magnitude in poison? Do I want to have like poison support skills actually with me? Um, Let me try these things out. And I feel like right now you're still too limited. I feel like this is super subjective and there's no objective answer to all of that. Um, and I completely understand if they're never gonna go that direction. But I would wish for more of that. I guess it's in the end it's gonna be a majority decision, and if that's not gonna be what I want, then that is still fine. I can still always open another character. Um, so it is okay, right? Um, One last thing which I want to address before I'm going to close this out is I want to go back to it being early access. Early access 0.1 means there's still a whole lot of potential. There's still so much potential. So while people rightfully criticize and say, okay, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, I really hope that in the future people will also understand this is not it. I know I already said that, but why do I say that? GGG, I think, made a mistake by calling the end game an end game, which means like, okay, people read that, people take that in with the assumption this is what you get, this is what you're gonna have to deal with. Like, if you want to play through the story, that's it, that's what it's gonna be. You know what? I don't think it's good. I've heard from other people it's dry, it's bland. I understand. There's this thing with the difficulty. You die and everything's gone. that's that's hard, making it hard for the sake of making it harder. It doesn't contribute to gameplay. If I didn't choose to pick a hardcore account, why do you give me mandatory hardcore features in the end game? This does not make sense and they have to fix that. It's just not a good decision. If they stay with that, then it's just pure stubbornness. And I really hope they don't do that. I really hope they don't. Um, so please, GGG, address this. Um, I think there are a few minor things more, which I might address in a future video. This is just coming, like, this is no script. This is just, finished playing. I felt like I had something to contribute. Um, Let me know in the comments what you think. Are you playing PoE 2? What have you seen? What have you heard? Um, Thank you for watching so far. It means really a lot to me. And let's hope that zero point 0.2 and all the future versions of PoE 2 are just gonna be better. Because I have no doubt that the developers care, that the developers are actually listening, and that there's never any ill intention, as suggested by some people, from the developers in just smiting certain builds. I think so far their adjustments simply serve overall gameplay experience. So, thank you very much and peace out.